This is where the fun begins.
General Kenobi.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 46 of Jedi Knights, the official Star Wars podcast of JoyClicks. I am your host, Christian Buckley, joined by my Chewie, Mike Connors.
It's a pleasure being here, as always. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for this episode.
Me too. We're
20 episodes away to having to 66. We were just discussing that.
Yeah, I'm wondering what we should do. Like, should we order just clone trooper masks and just do the whole episode in clone trooper masks?
Definitely.
Is that what we do?
Yep.
We're going to do a little different episode today. Obviously, we're going to get to our review of Vader by Charles Soule. We're also going to be touching on this news of Kathleen Kennedy talking about the future of Star Wars on screen, as well as the recent developments of the Kenobi series. And we found a nice narrative thread to string along.
We did, yeah. We found a good, it's storytelling. It's poetry. It rhymes, you know?
Yes, so we will get to that. But first off, as always, we're going to kick things off the way we do with From the Jedi Archives. Our little...
You can go first this week.
Cool.
Christian.
Keeping it in the theme.
All right.
We got Fortress Vader.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So, Fortress Vader, also known as Darth Vader's castle or Vader's personal abode,
yes,
was a stronghold on the volcanic world of Mustafar. It was once the site of a Sith temple, Mike. However, the temple fell, and Vader decided to build this castle, this fortress, on top of a Sith cave, which is where the temple was built. So you really channel that emo energy.
Yeah,
right?
He really loved to channel the emo energy. I mean, I feel like that's probably what gave him life, you know, like,
yeah,
pain, suffering.
Yeah. And now we know where his grandson got it from.
Exactly.
This was constructed 12 years before the Battle of Yavin. And yeah, the specific location is the Gahen Plains on Mustafar. Now,
how crazy is it that this guy was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go back to the place where I lost everything,"
yeah.
and that's where that's gonna be my spot, my pad, built my pad there.
Yeah, honestly, I think you had the right idea. It is because of the Sith creed of like going in on like passion and emotion and anger. Like, it's probably a constant reminder. You know, this is where he puts his feet up. Like, oh, I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, I know, that's just like a horrible way to live, but I guess you're right. It's the Sith. It's the whole Sith ethos.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, this is one of my favorite things in Star Wars, this castle. It's just such a cool thing. I love it so much. Like, I'm a little upset we didn't get to explore it after it was canonized in Rogue One through Kylo Ren's escapade on Mustafar in 9. Like, it would have been dope if he got to go to those ruins of Vader's castle and find something, like that's where the Wayfinder was or something. But regardless, I'm just happy it exists.
I'm happy it exists. We got some like really cool exterior shots in like Rogue One and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is like an underrated place. And I remember for a while it wasn't canonized that it was on Mustafar.
Right.
For a bit, which was like, you know, everybody obviously thought so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Thank you. What do you pick?
So today I picked something a little bit different. I picked a starship, the MC-95 Star Cruiser. It's the Mon Calamari Star Cruiser, used by the Rebels. It was used during the war between the First Order and the Resistance, and it kind of looks like the other Star Cruiser that is used in like Return of the Jedi and stuff, but I think it's a little bit different.
So is it, correct me if I'm wrong, is it the one with like the tail kind of like, or like the vertical tail, like the spike going down it?
I'm not really sure. It has like multiple, like it, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure, to be honest.
Okay.
Do you want me to send you a link?
Can you just read me the name again, because I can just find an image?
Yeah, it's an MC-95 Star Cruiser.
Star Cruiser, okay. What else we got on this? Where is it made? Italy?
Oh, Yeah, you think it's going to be made in Italy. It's actually not made in Italy. It's of Mon Calamari design. So I would assume that it's probably made on Mon Cala. So yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm not exactly sure what I think like what because the Mon Calamari people live underwater, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's their homes, like their underwater homes, and it can like come from the depths of the sea on Mon Cala into space.
That's
I'm,
cool.
pre- I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that's what it is. But yeah,
Um, I'm looking at it right now. It looks like if you took a squid and you chopped it in half and got rid of the tentacles.
mm,
That's what this looks like. Um, but that's a cool pick. Yeah, that I definitely recognize that now from Return of the Jedi. I almost just said Revenge of the Jedi. I don't know why.
Revenge of the Jedi. Yeah, no, yeah, no, it's very interesting. Very
Yeah.
very cool.
Good pick. I like when we occasionally bring a ship up, because it's only happened a couple times, but I do like that because I like to be educated more on the nitty gritty things. Like side characters are fun, but like
Ex-
you know,
I totally agree with you because like I don't know, there's like a lot of cool and interesting stuff to learn about the ships of Star Wars,
oh absolutely,
if you will. Um, so yeah, very
yeah.
cool.
So that concludes this week's Jedi Archives. So, Mike, why don't we lay the foundation here with?
Ooh, I do want to say one thing.
Okay.
I'm trying to find and verify that they lived on these ships.
Okay.
Can't find that, so
Okay. Well, hey, I would believe you.
I almost believe myself.
I saw Aquaman. People did that. They did stuff
I
like
would,
that.
yeah, they definitely do stuff like that. But just saying. All right, what were you saying?
Why don't we lay the foundation with an update on the here and now, right? Obviously, the present when it comes to Star Wars, undoubtedly, is The Mandalorian and a couple of these other Disney Plus shows, right? Like we got Cassian in the news here and there. We got Kenobi showing up. We got Bad Batch coming up. There is really no if and or but about it right now. The current situation with Star Wars is television.
Oh, totally.
And we have an update from Kathleen Kennedy herself, confirming some information about the Obi-Wan series. First up, she praised Deborah Chow's work on the show so far. Obviously, Deborah Chow is the main visionary behind this project. It was originally going to be a film, then the series, and then we got rewrites. But Deborah Chow did an incredible job on The Mandalorian. I believe she did the third episode, the one where the Mandalorian squad, I guess, like defended Mando in the streets to help him escape.
Yeah, yeah.
So she did a great job on that show.
She did do a very good job.
So hearing Kathleen Kennedy praise her once again for Kenobi, again, my favorite Star Wars character, makes me happy.
I never had any doubts really.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't really have any doubts. We'll have to see, I guess. But
yeah,
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I haven't had doubts. I think this is gonna be incredible, right? Like,
yeah.
So the reason I think it's gonna be that good is because it seems like it's going further along the trajectory that we were hoping it was gonna be. Because she also confirmed that when it comes to Disney Plus, it's going to be a limited 4-episode series. The Hollywood Reporter is reporting this. And Mike, let me tell you, I'm just swimming lately because we got a 4-episode, each one's an hour for the Snyder Cut, and now we're getting Obi-Wan 4 episodes miniseries. If we get a 4-hour Obi-Wan movie, I'm never gonna ask for anything again.
Are you excited for the Snyder Cut?
I think there's no way that movie is worse than the one we got, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, but how much better could it be? All right, getting off topic though. Yeah, no, I think that. I mean, I was talking to a friend of the show, Jack Martin, about it,
Mm-hmm.
and he said to me, "This tells me that each episode is going to matter," and Jack Martin's right. And I'm actually super happy that this is going to happen, because they could definitely like overdo it, but it's all about the quality, not the quantity.
I agree. Because this is limited, do you think it ends up being hour-long episodes?
No, I think maybe the first few will be like an hour 10-ish.
Okay.
I think like the last episode might be longer. But I think like maybe we'll see like an hour 30 one time on average.
Okay. So you're thinking like close to full length.
I mean, I think that there's probably a lot that they can do, and I feel like they have the ability to do it. They're doing it on like a soundstage, like.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the read I had on it was that it's going to be just a 4-part, like 4 chapters essentially.
I mean, it's possible that it's just going to be like 4, 45-minute episodes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm expecting right now. I would love it if it was like, hey, we're ranging from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on what each thing is about. Like, if that's the road they take, I'll be pleased.
I mean, I think they should do that. I think it's more likely that they'll just do like, each episode is like 50 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, and again, I'd be okay with that. I don't think it's gonna be Mando length, because Mando we saw dip into the 20s at times. We saw that range from like, I think the longest episode of Mando was like 41 minutes, including credits. Yeah. So I think every episode will be longer than the longest Mando episode.
I think like we'll see an hour an episode.
Okay, I'll ride that wave with you. I'll get behind that.
That's just I'm locking it in.
All right. So, the reason we bring that up is because Kathleen Kennedy once again was also making the rounds recently, talking about how the future of Star Wars is not in flux right now, but they're still planning it out, right? Like, she talked about the end of the Skywalker saga, how it was a good like place to just take a step back, coast on what this new era is about TV, and really decide the future of the Star Wars film series, which many people are probably happy to hear, considering that the last trilogy, love it or hate it, wasn't, I wouldn't say it was slapdash, but like there wasn't a overarching thing, point A to point B, like JJ, when it was 7, we've talked about this before, threw a bunch of mysteries out there. Rian Johnson answered a bunch of those mysteries, and then 9 backtracked on them. So again, a lack of cohesion, frustrations within the reasonable sides of the fandom,
Very true.
I think those people should probably be happy to hear this, right?
I think so. Just because like it seems as though they're taking a step back. I mean, that's what she said. They're just taking a step back and like really trying to figure out what they want to get out of it. Is something that they probably should have done before they made that, the sequel trilogy.
Right.
I don't think they took a hard enough look at like exactly what they wanted to do. I think they just like wanted to capitalize on their investment fast.
Yeah, I think a lot of it also is because we mention it sometimes, but I don't think we ever full out address it. The fact that like hiring JJ was a huge Star Wars fan, and more specifically, I think he's a huge George Lucas fan. So he was pivotal to this trilogy, right? And I think that in the desire to make the sequel trilogy appeal to what people love about Star Wars, not be the prequels. That was the impetus at the time.
Yeah.
I think they went a little too far in the fact that like, oh yeah, George didn't have a plan when he started with 4, right? Like, it's like, let's just like throw it around, like get really creative with it, treat us a blank slate. Like, I think that, again, if that was well-intentioned, I can understand wanting to replicate that, but you at the same time you have to realize that the original Star Wars was lightning in a bottle,
Yeah, that was just like such coincidence.
Yes.
So you can't replicate something like
right.
that.
And
I thought that they could.
For sure. Right, and I get wanting to not mimic that, but like try that again, to really get the feel behind the scenes that would come across on screen of like, hey, this is just passion. But yeah, I think because of that, it led to more issues than takeaways, I guess.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. I mean, I'm kind of like, I for one am happy that they're kind of taking another look at.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it can't hurt. Like I think, again, I really love The Last Jedi, and it's one of my favorite Star Wars movies, and I don't think we would have gotten The Last Jedi if they had this sort of foresight, before the sequel trilogy happened. So I'm grateful on that aspect, but like, we know the next 3 Star Wars films, not sure if it's a trilogy, but we know the next 3 releases are 2023, 2025, and 2027. Which, how do you feel?
Away.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? Those numbers.
I mean, that's just decades away. But like, honestly, that's fine. It could be longer. They just need to do more TV stuff. That's what I'm saying, and that's what she's saying.
Yeah.
So, I think honestly, Star Wars, and this may be like a bold take, I think Star Wars actually might work better on the TV.
I agree.
Than on on film. I think like the first 6 films were like, I don't know, just something different, and I don't think you can ever redo that.
Yeah.
Again.
Go
and
with
I
me.
Don't. I honestly don't think it's even like, it may be worth trying, and like I guess it's worth trying one more time to see like what can come out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were Disney and like Lucasfilm, I'd be like, TV, all the assets are going into that.
I think you're 100% right. I agree. I think, go with me on this. Do you think after we saw the Clone Wars, right, and how that fleshed out that entire era, do you think if the prequel trilogy was broken up into 3 seasons of like Game of Thrones quality production levels, it would have been a better way to deliver that story?
It would have been so cool, man. It would have been so cool. Imagine like HBO level like style drama.
Mm-hmm.
And like HBO level like action and stuff.
Yeah. And I don't
It would have been amazing.
Yeah, I don't even mean in terms of tone. I just mean more of like, take that level of production, like,
yeah,
that budget, that freedom, and do it like that story of Anakin and the Senate and all that stuff through episodic television. I think it's much more compelling, as we saw it be much more compelling in a kids show, right? Like they managed to tell that story in such an interesting way in a serialized format.
It's totally true. I think they show, like you said, they show that they can do it with the Clone Wars, and honestly, the Clone Wars is much more compelling than many of the movies, which is like really messed up to say, but it's true. So they should definitely keep going on that. That's what I'm saying.
I agree. So I think we're both on the same page, right? Just to put a thing out there in the world, if they really are taking this step back, right? And you and I both agreed that the best way to do Star Wars is, like, you can make A New Hope and put it in a season of television at this point. Like, it would not be out of the ordinary,
No, it wouldn't be. I feel like it would work good.
Yeah.
Too.
So, what I think, if we want to keep Star Wars on the big screen, Mike.
Yeah.
What I think we need to do is take the traditional type of Star Wars storytelling we're familiar with, keep that on television like we're saying. But for the films, I think we hire someone on the level of a Peter Jackson. And you're like, hey, you figure out this
space.
Yeah, no, figure out this whole epic, get 3 movies worth of very intense, grand storytelling, probably honestly set it in the Old Republic. Just get that level of like regality, the epic war, the scale of it all. Save that for the big screen. Like the whole fields of Jedi and Sith running at each other, keep that for movies, But if you want to keep like the samurai Jedi that we're familiar with, if you want to keep like the rebel with a gun, do that on TV. It's working fine.
Like you don't need the nitty-gritty political intrigue in a movie. Like it works good on a television show.
Yeah.
And like exactly. If you wanna save the big epic things for TV. And in Star Wars that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh so yeah, I agree with you. Like I don't ever want to see something campy like The Rise of Skywalker someday or something.
Yeah, and I think that what we're pitching right now might be realistic, honestly. If they are taking another look at it and they are going to say, hey, let's just have a complete story, they're releasing 2 years apart to the point where I think it's maybe realistic that it is a similar type of production to the Lord of the Rings trilogy in terms of like how it was planned out and shot. So
it should be. I think that would be really cool. They managed to make like an epic style. Like, I mean, not that the Star Wars movies aren't already epic,
right?
But like, try to like capture that feeling again. Like this is a big story that you're telling.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're gonna end up getting, right? Because if you're putting a character and an actor like Obi-Wan and Ewan McGregor on television, whatever you put on a theater screen should blow that out of the water in terms of being a spectacle,
Exactly.
So
thank God for Disney Plus, man.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to be in on it, but now I am.
Yeah. So again, staying in the same ballpark, you and I read Vader by Charles Soule.
That is true.
The full title, for clarity, is Star Wars Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith. We got 3 colons in this title. Sorry, 2.
Yeah, it's quite the long name there.
Yeah. Overall thoughts? Did you like it?
Oh yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it a lot. I mean, I think Charles Soule is like good. I've read this. I've also read The Rise of Kylo Ren.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did some work on the original Star Wars run.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think he crafts like a really interesting Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cool action.
Yeah.
And I also like him traveling back to like the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, it's very cool to see Vader in set pieces that we're not really used to seeing him in.
Yeah.
And I want to take what we like our general thoughts of this book and apply it to a specific question. But before I bring that question up, Charles Soule is writing The Light of the Jedi, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. It's like his first like Star Wars book, I think. I think he's written a book before, but
yeah, because I think he's just been on comics.
Yeah, did you know? I think he's like a lawyer.
Really?
Like, it's kind of funny. He just like I don't know how he got into doing this, but
Well, I think this book, like I liked it too, and I think I got like halfway through it, and then I realized I read the first couple issues before, and I think this book and the other Darth Vader one, which we were confused with like which one we were gonna read.
It's confusing how they do that.
Yeah. I think those proved to me that I would be down to see more Vader on screen. So, because we're talking about the future of Star Wars, because we're talking about Disney Plus and serialized television with the stories and characters we're used to seeing so far, versus the future, the new era, whatever the movies turn into. Do you think, / what do you want to see Darth Vader in a similar to Obi-Wan limited run series to flesh out more of him as a villain, him as a figurehead in the galaxy, like sort of peel back the layers of what makes Vader different than Anakin when we see Anakin turn? Like, do you think that's an interesting story based on what you read in this book?
Yes, absolutely. Because like Vader, he's still good, and it comes out in his actions and in his thoughts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be a very interesting deep dive into his like psyche. Mm-hmm. I just like don't know how exactly you would do that. You'd have to have some sort of like inner monologue going on at the same time for him to have any depth.
Yeah.
Because like he doesn't really speak. that often. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah. And like, to be fair, I haven't seen Vader Immortal, so I don't know how much they do what we're talking about in that.
Yeah.
But what I have seen is Vader appear in season 7 of the Clone Wars, very briefly reflecting on his past. I'm not there yet in our Rebels watch, but like I'm aware of the dynamic and response between Ahsoka and Vader at one point in that show. So I wonder if you have to do it from an avenue of strictly following Vader, or sort of like an audience input character. So like a Star Killer, perhaps, where it's following him, and that, like, it's following Vader, but through the lens of a secret apprentice or something that he could have a genuine back and forth with.
Yeah, I don't think he definitely has to have some sort of like, I don't think sidekick is the right word.
Right.
But like, accomplice.
Yeah,
for anything, for it to be like, worthwhile in my opinion.
Right, because even in this comic and the one I've read before, like he has back and forths with like Boba Fett, or I think Afra, like Dr. Afra, right? That character that was pretty big for Star Wars comics. Like there is a back and forth that he's had in the comics that I think could translate well to screen, but I do think it would have to be through the perspective of a different character, or else it would be just a bunch of inner monologue, like you said. But strictly comparing it to what we expect Kenobi to be, do you think we could get something that acts as like an antithesis to Kenobi, that's like very, again, slow, very personal, kind of quiet, but just from the perspective of Vader? Like, do you think that these two series or characters could mirror each other in an interesting way?
I mean, yeah, I think that like I feel like Darth Vader may be like a pretty hard character to nail down in this sense. I think Obi-Wan Kenobi may be easier to write, and easier to convey like through the screen. Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm not sure. Like, the more I would like to see something with Darth Vader in it, but the more I'm not sure exactly how you could even do that. And for you to do it right, I think having some sort of accomplice, like a Star Killer, having somebody he can have a back and forth with would be good. But yeah, I'm not really sure if I'm down with the whole idea personally.
Yeah, because again, basing it off of this comic, right? Like, Vader doesn't have many avenues to be discreet. Like he has to send people out. Like he can't really just investigate his own leads on his own, right? Unless it's in the middle of nowhere. So I think if we did get a Vader series, it would have to be sort of more in line with that political side, right? And see him being like a mastermind schemer. And again, for most adaptations or most stories on television that deal with a character like that, that character is never really the focal point.
Yeah, I feel like it would be better if he was like a secondary character, honestly. Because if you think about it, like Darth Vader, that's kind of all he's ever been.
Yeah.
And like for a reason. Because it's hard to like make him like compelling in like a dramatic way.
True. Yeah.
It's easy to make Anakin Skywalker and just his story in general. I don't know. Am I making any sense here?
No, you are. I would push back a little bit where, again, I think in this one and the other Vader comics I have read, like, I think they're able to craft a compelling story, or more of like a mystery, I guess, around Vader that makes me think of him in a different way. But I think a lot of the ways that works is when you appeal to his humanity more and the Anakin inside of him, where I don't know like how much you can mine out of that for a full series. So But I don't even think that's worth considering at this point. If something like a Kenobi is going to be a limited series, it's like very clear in and out. This is the story we want to tell. So like maybe a Vader one shot type deal, like just a small anecdote about Vader. Make a very again quiet, focused character study of him alone hunting a Jedi or something. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I just don't. I feel like there's a way to do it. I just don't know if it would be like worth it to take that risk.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I think it would be like. I feel like you probably could do something like really cool and artsy with like this like man who's a machine and follow that around for a bit. But like the broader appeal of that's not going to be very high.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think after Rogue One. I think any chance of us getting the Vader story that we're talking about will never happen because, again, after seeing people freak out about the hallway scene, as cool as that is, like that's not what I think of when I think of Vader, right? Like he's supposed to be tactical and menacing, especially going into the trilogy, where like it doesn't make a ton of sense that he just like haphazardly just like wrecks shop in a hallway, right? Like
no, totally.
Yeah, so I
say what you're gonna say.
I was gonna say I think if again you wanted a Vader story that appeals to the mainstream, you get more of that of like this isn't necessarily what I want to explore with this character, but like hey, he's being badass, so like
I mean, I think it's not like you can't explore it in other mediums, and I think this comic does a decent job. I think it could have done better actually in like kind of humanizing Vader a little bit, but like I think this was just a little bit more like action oriented.
Sure.
But I mean, I think you could do that in books. You could do that in comics. Like I read the Thrawn Alliance's book, and like you get some interesting like Vader insight just through reading about him. And reading from his point of view.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that what we would want out of something like this is something that isn't as realistic for the screen as it is for a book or a comic or something.
I think you're right. Because I might have said this on the show before, but my favorite Darth Vader moment, I think, I'd have to like stew it over. But I think my favorite Darth Vader moment that I've seen is it's not in this, but it's that scene where I think it's well known, right? Like it blew up on the internet at one point, but it was the scene where he finds out that Luke's last name is Skywalker.
Oh, he's on Tatooine.
Yeah, and he's talking to Boba Fett. And he's like, "Hey, who's this kid that blew up the Death Star? I want you to hunt him. I want info on him. Yeah. He's strong in the Force." And then he like comes back to him and he's like, "Got nothing. I only got a name." Skywalker, hard cut to Vader's like mask, right? But like you get that feeling there. I love that.
I know it's so cool. You can like see a panel of his mask like after something like that and just know like the freaking like the rage inside of him.
Right. So
you just like feel it emanating through the page.
Right.
Very cool.
So I do think what you're saying is absolutely true. I think there's merit to exploring the character more in other mediums that might end up working better. So based on where we feel on the same page there, what do you think / want Vader's role to be in future Star Wars content?
I kind of want his role to be limited. Like this kind of just goes back to the fact that I kind of want Star Wars content in a way to like step away from its past and move more into a new future, which is like, away from Darth Vader and stuff. Mm-hmm. But, as always, like Disney's going to make either TV shows or what have you in this time period. And I personally would like to see him kind of just be like somebody who pops up every once in a while.
Yeah, because I feel like that could be fun, right? Like it's like you're just watching some story. Like say we get, I don't know, a third season of Solo on Disney Plus, right? and it's just really in the weeds about these original characters that are gangsters, and then all of a sudden Darth Vader shows up for an episode like that. I feel like is a cool way to like keep that character because he's so iconic, in the universe and not oversaturated. I think you're absolutely right there. I think that's probably what I would want to.
I mean, that's the thing about Darth Vader. It's like it's hard to like oversaturate that character because like you can kind of just throw him in any situation in that time period and it makes sense. Yeah, and it's terrifying.
Yeah. When you were talking about exploring his character more, like a personal way through writing, I was also getting ideas of how it could work in a game. I think as well, like. I think because of the ways that games are structured, if you had a game where you're playing as Vader, you can give yourself that more internal monologue in a way, right? Like characters talk to themselves, give Vader like a droid that he's like walking with through his Jedi hunts, right? Like make a game about Vader having to hunt down what he thinks are the final like 10 Jedi. Mm-hmm. Like that could be cool, right? And then you could have moments of reflection. Maybe it's some Jedi that Anakin trained with, and then there's moments of tension there. Like I think
that could work, definitely.
Yeah, like I think there are ways to explore Vader, but having this conversation with you, I really kind of believe now that it can't be on film.
I really don't think it could be on film.
Yeah,
I really don't. I think like Anakin Skywalker, like sure. That's a character that could be on film. I think Darth Vader, though, is like, I don't know. It's just he's just too evil.
Yeah,
it's too black. It's too black and white.
Yeah,
and if you are going to try to like find a way to put him in there, then like you're gonna have to do it through a comic book or just a regular novel or a video game. I think a video game would be pretty cool. It makes me think. I don't know exactly how Vader Immortal does it. But
I think, as far as I know, even in Vader Immortal, it is you are a tertiary character who is just like stumbling into an adventure or confrontation with Vader. So
see, that's like I would like to see. I like what you're pitching here with a video game. You should go to LucasArts.
Hey, I am unemployed. So,
yeah.
No, but yeah, honestly, I think Vader's still a compelling character, even if he is the mold, for Star Wars bad guy.
I mean, yeah, he's just a bad guy through and through, but he is a compelling character when you think about it.
Yeah. So, in this future world of Star Wars, exploring more of the ground we have tread, in television, I think you nailed it. I think Vader's role it should be minimal. I think it should be like a special occasion, but like not frequently.
Yeah, and I don't want to come off and saying like I don't ever want to see Darth Vader because like that's not true at all. Like I do, I just think that he's done better as like a tool, like a scare guy.
No, you're right. Yeah, because when you start humanizing Darth Vader in a way that goes beyond like he has regrets, like I feel like it would build towards that question I had earlier in the run of this show of like seeing Clone Wars, seeing Anakin in the prequels, trying to make sense in your head the connection of Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker and then Empire Strikes Back, I'm Your Father. Like there is still a little bit of a blurred muddying of waters on like when the snap happened, of like the hard transition. So I think just because of the nature of TV and film, like exploring Vader more, I think would just continue to make that more of a murky area, because when he's introduced in 4, even in Rogue One and 5 and 6 or 5 not so much 6, but like he is meant to be the black and white villain, right? Like he is pure evil,
Unfortunately, yeah, like that's kind of just what it is, and like that's not to say that like they can't do it in like a book, or
right? Yeah,
or like that's fine. I'm fine with that because like I just think One, I think doing it on a movie or a TV screen, it would just be too limiting of the medium.
Hmm.
Uh, so I mean, if someone can prove me wrong, like I could sit here and say I was proved wrong. You know, I don't want to say it can never happen, but I just want to say like I don't think it's like.
Yeah, I think you're correct. And honestly, hearing you compare it to the Thrawn trilogy again is making my mind like, man, this comic was really good. Vader is an interesting character you can mine more for sure. I just don't know the right path. And then I was thinking, hey, why is there no Vader book trilogy yet?
No, there really should be. I think the books are the way to go.
Yeah.
If you're gonna try to get into Vader's brain, if you're gonna try to get into him and try to humanize him, then yeah, that's the way you should go. The thing about Vader though is like at least in the Thrawn trilogy, like he's like completely disassociated from Anakin
Hmm.
normally. But it's very interesting that he does think about Anakin and calls him like the Jedi to himself, which is very interesting.
Yeah. So I did Google this real quick because we're talking about Vader books, right? And
Yeah.
in the new canon, there is a book, and I don't know if it's from the perspective of Vader, but it is everything I know about it is Vader and Palpatine. It's called Star Wars Lords of the Sith
Interesting.
by Paul S. Kemp, and I can read the publisher summary because I don't.
Is it canon?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's in that timeline. The publisher summary says Anakin Skywalker Jedi Knight is just a memory. Darth Vader, newly anointed Sith Lord, is ascended. The Emperor's chosen apprentice has swiftly proven his loyalty to the dark side. Still, the history of the Sith Order is one of duplicity, betrayal, and acolytes violently usurping their masters. And the truest measure of Vader's allegiance has yet to be taken until now. On Ryloth, a planet crucial to the Empire, as a source of slave labor, the narcotic known as spice, an aggressive resistance movement has arisen. Led by Cham Syndulla. Interesting.
Hera's dad, I think.
Yeah, and he was in Clone Wars. An idealistic freedom fighter, and Isval, a vengeful former slave. But Emperor Palpatine means to control the embattled world and its precious resources by political power of firepower. All right. And he will be neither intimidated nor denied, accompanied by his merciless disciple. Darth Vader, he sets on a rare personal mission to ensure his will is done. For Syndulla and Isval, it's the opportunity to strike at the very heart of the ruthless dictatorship sweeping the galaxy. And for the Emperor and Darth Vader, Ryloth becomes more than just a matter of putting down an insurrection. So, I don't know if that's about the Resistance or our Sith Bros, but
yeah, it seems like it's about both.
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, this is probably something that is very similar to what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And something similar to what I'm looking for too. Like, just makes me think of yeah, I don't know, Thrawn Alliances and just the way that he was able, Timothy Zahn was able to really get inside the mind of Vader. It's definitely, I think the book is the way to go if you're going to do something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And honestly, I might look into this one a little more because I haven't really heard about it much.
Should it be our next read?
I don't know, because I do want to read into it a little bit to see if it was like received well and if it's actually what we're looking for, or if it's more just like lightsaber go brr, like
yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's something I'll look into for sure. But
Interesting.
You read The Rise of Kylo Ren, which again is Charles Soule. After reading his Vader, I guess getting a refresh on it since you have read it before.
Yeah.
Do you think it will inspire you to read more of his Vader run? / does this get you more excited for Light of the Jedi?
I'm just excited for Light of the Jedi, just period.
Yeah.
I think I'm more excited for that than I am for anything else. But I do have the next 2 like volumes in this run, so I'm probably going to read those.
Nice.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I haven't been thinking about the Light of the Jedi much, honestly, because I don't know. I like
It got pushed back.
yeah, and also as we've like started our whole experience with reading Star Wars, I kind of like reading the stuff we're familiar with, like the eras and characters in a way that recontextualizes the movies for me, where I don't know yet how enthralled I will be by a wholly original story set in a book, personally, so far. Like, I'm still looking forward to it, and I still want to see this new era, but like the experience I've gained so far in terms of finding ways to rethink the trilogies I know so well because of these books, I'm not going to get that with Light of the Jedi, you know?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I guess I'm just interested to see a new era, something that's never been explored before in this world. That's kind of where I'm coming from with it.
Yeah, no, I trust me. I think it's gonna be good, right? Like, I think it's gonna be a good thing. It's just, it's sort of the same way that when they announce a new Star Wars movie, right? Like the ones we've been adding to the slate here and there. I can only get as excited about it as I can, knowing who's attached to it, right? Because like, if it is a truly blank slate with Star Wars, it's like, okay, so what are they gonna do? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's part of the intrigue for me. I'm excited to find out personally.
Yeah. Well, it feels weird to rank a comic with our 2 novels we've read so far. So we don't have to do that. But overall, did you enjoy it?
I'd say if I were to give it a letter grade, I'd give it a B+.
Yeah, I was thinking B.
Yeah. I guess I was a little bit more generous than you.
I mean, hey, I think a B is good. Trust me. I've gotten B's before, and I've been ecstatic. So.
That's like average, right? Or no, C's are
C's average.
B's are great.
Yeah, B is like, hey, you did good. B
you did good.
B is like in the 80s. 80 is you did good. You know, like if you get an 80 on something, it's like, hey, good job.
Yeah.
But any final thoughts on Vader?
Other than the fact that I think I am going to try to finish the run.
Mm-hmm.
No, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. How many more volumes are there?
Two smaller ones. So like one volume, 2. Yeah. So.
Nice. Well, honestly, maybe we come back to this because I liked reading about Vader.
I'd be down. We can go. I'm excited. I kind of want to see how it ends. So.
Yeah, like
where it goes.
Yeah, we leave off on a point that's interesting enough that I'm down to just keep the train going if you want.
All right. Yeah, you want to do it?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Mike, let me tell you, classes started again this week, so if I can just have a comic as my homework,
yeah, we could just do the comics. Nice. Where did you read this?
Comixology on my tablet. So.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, I saw Jack went to a local comic book store to pick up a hard copy, and I respected it.
Yeah, I have a hard copy too. Jack likes the hard copies of things. I respect that. I think he went to That's Entertainment in Worcester.
Nice.
Shout out.
Support local businesses.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I think that's about all we have to talk about today.
I hope that didn't like real life dox Jack. I don't think it did.
No.
But all right.
Mike, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Mike P. Connors.
Very nice. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at Chris N. Buckley. There's a lot going on youtube.com/JoeyClicks where the video version of this podcast is uploaded every week. We're doing live premieres for the foreseeable future for all the podcasts. So if you want to hang out in the chat with us when the episode premieres, we can do that.
Is there a set time that it premieres?
Well, considering that we have a streamlined method of recording now, we can have a scheduled time for Wednesdays. So I'm gonna say 4.
I mean, I'm just wondering.
I'm gonna say 4 Eastern on Wednesdays.
All right, there you go.
So look forward to that. But this podcast is also available on podcast services like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, a variety of others. If you can rate or review on that service, it'd be greatly appreciated because it helps the show out, helps us out, helps us find more listeners. And I'll say it again, Mike, we do great on the audio services. So listeners, if you haven't done it before, go over to youtube.com/JoeClicks. Just say hi. Say hi in the video version of the podcast.
Please. Give us a subscribe.
Yeah, we're close. We're close to 2,000.
Yeah. I actually I went on Apple Podcasts and I rated all the podcasts.
You love to see it, Mike. Thank you.
So you gotta go do that. Everybody else has gotta go do that.
Yeah, because we got a ton of those things. If you want to get more involved, though, you want to have directions over the show, this one specifically, including topics of conversation. You got mad that Mike and I were talking trash about Vader this episode. You want us to talk about something else? You want us to gas up?
If you disagree with us, let us know.
Yeah. $2 tier on Patreon gets you the ability to submit questions and talking points every week on all of our podcasts. And $5 is producer credit. So if you want to do that, like Chris Sakas does for My First Mod, you can do that.
Nice.
So,
cool.
Mike, that's going to do it. As always, it's a pleasure. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me, as always. Thank you.
And until next time, we're fine. Everything's fine. How are you?
May the Force be with you.
Hello there. This is where the fun begins.
General Kenobi.